Well, I'll tell you, we got some things done again today. I want to welcome you back to the Withlacoochee River Railway. And let's go ahead and go on through the intro, and then we'll come back to it, okay? Alrighty. Well, now that we made it through that, let's kind of go ahead and let's have a little word here. You know, a little bit of talking points. I finally found that group on Facebook called Budget Model Railroading, and it really does take budgeting to have a model railroad. Even for guys who have the money to go out and just purchase anything they want, when they want, how they want, they have to go by a budget also. Because believe it or not, their funds are just as finite as ours. They just have a little bit more that they can spend before it becomes a finite situation. Whereas most of us, on the other hand, in the real world, the finality of our funds are a lot more. Now, they're a lot lower than somebody who's obviously rich. I was watching a video the other day, Chris's Trains and Things. The title was in the form of a question: how can you afford all these trains? Something to that effect. If you go look it up on YouTube, you can find Chris's Trains and Things. And basically everything he gave you in that video makes perfect sense. Don't use credit cards to buy your trains. You shouldn't be using credit cards for anything. You should do away with credit cards. Credit cards are dangerous anyway. But to sit there and buy your trains with them, and to buy your, that's as bad as buying consumable merchandise. Because, sometimes you'll buy your trains, play with them for a while, and then you'll sell it off, or you'll sell some of it. But you're still paying for it. If you put it on a credit card, don't hand me the, if you're one of these guys that pays your credit card off every month, that's fine. That's one thing. You're just using the credit card for convenience then. However, if you're one of these guys who's, like about 99.998% of us, you're carrying a balance. And you're going to carry that balance for as long as you pay the minimum due on that credit card every time. It's never going to be what you want it to be. So, taking that into account, it's never gonna. You're never gonna pay that credit card off. You may not even be able to live long enough to pay that credit card off. So, here's my advice to you: don't use a credit card. Another thing that Chris pointed out in his video was, by all means, and I might leave you a link to that video in in the description. I don't mind supporting another YouTuber, even though he does a little better. He has sponsored videos and stuff like that. That's not something I have yet. That's something I've never had, with sponsored videos, and I've never been able to monetize my videos. I've never had enough subscribers. I never had enough. I had actually stopped doing videos for a while, basically several years, because I kind of got fed up with the model railroading hobby there for a few years. And I sold off all my HO, and I sold off all my N scale. Before I started doing HO, and then later N, I had pretty much sold off all my O scale. I was in this room that you see me in right now was originally this original table that this layout is built on this edge of the wall was a 2-rail O scale layout with hand-laid track. Very little track was ever ready-made Atlas track. It was 2-rail O scale. I never could get it to work right or anything like that, because let's face it, I'm not very good at laying track. But you know what? I gave it a try. Of course, even that's expensive these days to get your gauges, to get the proper stuff that would help you to shape your switch points right and things like that. So, the question, it boils down to what we do. If you're not of very high means financially, and you can't afford to just go to the hobby shop or your favorite train store or your favorite train website and purchase a bunch of stuff, what you might consider is buying used. Now, one thing is for sure, beggars can't be choosers. I've got 4 Santa Fe passenger cars here. I would love to have a pair of War Bonnet F units, an A and B set, to pull it with, but I can't afford it, and that's only if I find any. Sure, the old Lionel post-war version of their F3, it's available everywhere. That's not an F3. That's somebody's idea of an F3. Okay, the detail is all wrong. And I'm not trashing anybody for having those. A lot of the people. I grew up a scale modeler all my life. So to me, it with the detail wrong and everything on those, I wouldn't buy them. No, they could offer to pay me $5 to take them, and I wouldn't buy them. That's how much I do not like the Lionel F3s. Now later on, you could pay me to take a Legacy engine, because the later Legacy F units, they're very well detailed and they're accurately detailed. But you'll never convince me that in 1948, when they came out with their F3s, or it was 1950 or whenever it was, when they brought their F3s to market, yeah, they were very popular, but look who they were marketing to. They were marketing to children at the time. That was their marketing strategy. But we're not going to get into that right now. Right now, we're talking about affording our model trains. I've also got a set of 4 Pennsylvania passenger cars that I'd gotten out of an estate sale, and these cars had been stored in this storage shed for years, or one of those storage things. Those storage places where you pay them so much a month to keep your stuff locked away so you don't have access to it. Well, these cars were in there. They had quite a bit of Lionel stuff in there. And most of the Lionel, by the time I got to it, most of the Lionel, but I got 4 Williams streamlined passenger cars that are the Pennsylvania Congressional Limited type cars. And they're pretty good looking cars. I've got 2 coaches, a dome coach, and an observation. So I needed an engine to pull those. Well, my friend John just happened to have a Pennsylvania F unit. And it's an old K-line, one of the older K-lines, the ones with the horizontal motors on the trucks. mounted to the trucks underneath the floor. It's a good-looking engine, great-looking engine. And problem is the board's bad in it, and I'm going to probably have to rig that up with some kind of diode or something, and it'll just run forward from now on. It also needs things like traction tires and stuff like that. I'm not working on that right now. I have other concerns. What I did instead, I went and bought a set, an AA set plus a B unit. So it's an ABA set of Lackawanna F units from my friend Mike, who also does the shows and stuff. He's very big on Lionel, but these are Williams engines. They're practically brand new, still in the box. He took care. He told me that it had been a long time since he had lubed and tuned them, which I know that he used to run them a little bit. They run flawlessly. They run absolutely flawlessly. They're beautiful engines, and they look good pulling those Santa Fe passenger cars. I imagine they would look just as good pulling the Williams Pennsylvania passenger cars too. You notice that on my railroad I have an eclectic mix of locomotives from various. I've got like a Pennsy Pennsy F7. I've got a set of Lackawanna F7s. I've got a Milwaukee Road RS1. And I've got a couple of 080s and another couple of steam engines. So I've got an eclectic mix. So when you don't have a whole lot of money, you're going to go out, you're going to buy the stuff used if you're going to buy it at all. Now you might be wondering, okay, if I'm such a scale hound, why am I modeling in 3-rail? First of all, I can find 3-rail at any train show in Florida. You can always find the 3-rail trains. They are everywhere. Okay? You'll find 2-rail items, and I've gotten several. What did I pay for those boxcars? It's all I've ever found that was 2-rail was the boxcars. Oh, anywhere from $5 to $7 a piece. $5 to $7 per car. And I realize that you're going to pay more for the newer in-the-box cars. I get that, yeah. Or you're going to pay a little bit more for, maybe $10, $20 a car for certain items that are 3-rail. I get that. That's not a problem. But I don't go to Dana's Railroad Supply and order every $80 car that comes out on the market. I can't afford to do that. So used cars it is. The Santa Fe passenger set, I got it for $110. Normally that guy sells the 4-car sets, and he sells a lot of passenger sets. He kind of, it's almost like engines, and he gets freight cars too, but he specializes in 4-car passenger sets and 2-car add-on sets. And he goes to the various Regal shows and stuff. Normally he sells a 4-car set for $130. That's a set, and it doesn't matter whether it's Williams, Lionel, K-Line, whatever. He has those sets there. He has, and he normally charges about $130, which means he probably paid about $65 for each set. So, because he's one of these, he's one of those guys. He's basically a train show dealer. He doesn't own a shop. He's not like Zitnik Trains, who has a shop down in St. Petersburg, but he goes to various Regal shows. Zitnik goes to York at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. So Zitnik's is in York. And Zitnik's tables are pretty nice, but he's going to sell his stuff off the new stuff off, and he sells it for less than the new price. The neat thing about Zitniks, and this is where you can find a lot of stuff, because I've gotten a lot of my kit bashing fodder right from Zitnik trains. I picked up a couple of boxcars. One of them is sitting right here. This is one of the cars right here. I picked this car up for $3. The details that are on it were already on the car. The trucks and couplers I had to supply, but the details that were on this car were already on the car when I got it. But the car was a junker. You get what I'm saying? The car was a junker. I got the car for a lot less money because it was sitting on one of his bargain tables. His bargain tables start at 25 cents. This tower you see here. Now, it was in bits and pieces when I picked it up. It was in a poly bag. But this switch tower, I like to think of it as a switch tower. I picked it. I think it's a plastic bill or something like that. It could be a K-line. But I picked this up for $0.25 because that's where his table starts, and it was on the quarter table. I picked that up for 25 cents. I put it back together. It's been spray painted, its base coat, and I'm going to, of course, use lighter colors to basically work it out to where it'll look more like what it needs to look like to be a decent tower. So you can pick these things. That station I got sitting back there that I have the train parked at, that's a Lionel, one of Lionel's infamous freight station. It looks more like a passenger station, but it's one of Lionel's freight stations. I picked that up for $10 in the shape you see it in now. So, hey, that's pretty good. I have no issues with that whatsoever. So, you know, take these things into account. Buying used trains at a train show. What's the first thing I look for when I walk into a train show? Well, of course I'm going to notice the train show dealers. I'm going to notice the actual in-business dealers that might be there. You know, there's maybe a train shop, their wares out there, and they usually have about a little bit of a discount out there at the train shows. I know that Zitnik does. But that's not exactly what I'm looking for. I mean, unless he's got something I'm specifically looking for and I'm willing to pay the price that he's got on, you know. Because, you know, even though Zitnik's tables start at a 25% section, goes up to $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, it gets up to about a $25 table. And then just beyond that, he's going to have stuff that's priced as marked. You know, which is often brand new stuff in the box, or like new stuff still in the box or in the box. What I'm looking for is the guy who's out there, he's trying to sell his stuff off. He doesn't want to pack it back up and take it back home. He doesn't want to do that. So take into account, you've got all these guys that are doing that. I'm looking for the guy that doesn't want to pack it back up, especially toward the end of the day. That's how I got my RS3 for $60. Now, he had a price tag of $75 on it simply because it's a PS1. At a show here in Brooksville, at the Hernando County Fairgrounds, I found the RS1 that's on the track now. And I found that one for $80. And I asked the lady, well, because she was just trying to get rid of the stuff. She didn't want to haul it home either. Her and her friend didn't want to have to pack it all back up and take it home. I haven't ever seen that lady since. Very nice lady. I guess her husband was the tinkerer. And he had been in the hospital and he just can't mess with it anymore. So she was selling it off. And she had an $80 tag on it, and I asked her, well, how much would you take for it? She said, could you do $60? How this lady knew exactly what I had in my wallet at that point, 3 $20 bills, I don't know. But I gave her, I gave her $60 for that, too. That one's PS2. And believe me, it's got the sound for PS2. Oh, we're getting a little bit of rain today. Yeah, that's all right. We got a cold front coming through, so it's going to be nice and cool tomorrow morning, I think. I'm not sure what it's going to be in the morning. I know it's supposed to, that the temperature's supposed to dip tonight. So, let's see. All right. Well, 69 degrees right now. It's supposed to be down to 43 tonight. So, that'll be good. Alright. Anyway, back to my point. Yeah, I try to save a little money, put a little money back and stuff as I work. And I've got other money sometimes. And of course, when I go buy my sodas or whatever at 7-Eleven, I take the loose change, my quarters, nickels, dimes. I put them in a penny bank. And then my pennies, because I usually get pennies also, I'll put those in another penny bank. And then I'll roll these coins up sometime just before the show, which, by the way, we have one coming up at County Fairgrounds on Saturday, December 7th. So just be aware of that. On Saturday, December 7th, it'll be open to the public from 9 until 2, and you can get in on the early bird at 8 o'clock. And I think it costs you like $1 extra. It's about $6 to get in. If you get the emails from Joe at Regal Shows, it'll take $1 off of your ticket to get in. Taking that all into account, but that's what I look for. I look for the people that don't want to pack their bags or pack their stuff back into the boxes and take it all home again. I don't care for doing that. I don't care, for just searching for the most expensive stuff I can find in the show. Then you want to find the guys that have a way, way, way overabundance of trains. There's another one. There's the one you're going to get the cars for $6, $7, $10 each, maybe. And those cars are usually going to be in very good condition. And you can make an offer. See, that's another thing you can do at these shows. If they're not a dealer with set pricing here and there, you can generally make an offer, a reasonable offer. You don't want to try to lowball the guy too much, but you can make an offer on what they're selling, and they'll often they'll take it if they don't the item. You can pay out for the item, and you'll be that far ahead, not as much as you would have been had they taken your offer. But a lot of them, they're just there to sell for the fun of being there. And that's really all I'm there for. I try to sell off some stuff. And yeah, if we have a lousy show, believe me, you feel it. You're a different kind of tired at the end of the day. You're always going to be, if you're a seller, if you're a vendor, I'm a vendor. If you're a vendor, at the end of the day, you're going to feel how tired you are. But when you've been selling and you've taken in quite a bit of money or a little bit of money, even a little bit of money, you let's say you've done over $150, $200 for the day. I mean, that's good for me. I know guys that, they don't do it for a living. They do it as a hobby. And that's their hobby. That's their end of the hobby. They just buy and sell trains. They don't build a layout. They don't run trains. They don't care about the trains other than they can buy them and they can sell them. So And some of those guys, now I'm buddy with some of them, and they provide me with a lot of my stock. And I'll get the stuff at a break, and then I'll turn around and I know one guy, he'll take in $2,000 or $3,000. He's made money, and this is a 1-day show, and he'll take in $2,000 or $3,000. He does pretty good at it, doesn't he? Now, what's he got in cost on that? No more than about $12 or $13. So he's made money. That's what he does. And he's retired, so, you know, it's not like he needs the money. And if he's got stuff that, you know, one of the things that you find that you pick up with every collection you buy, you're going to get the crap, because you either take it all or you take none of it. Okay? It's perfectly good stuff, but it's the stuff that goes like in my dollar box. I have a $1 box. Everything in that box is $1. When I set that up on the table, that attracts people. And often they end up buying 2 or 3 pieces or half a dozen pieces of rolling stock. Yep. And that's how I move all that HO rolling stock pretty quickly. Sometimes I pick up rolling stock from other vendors. A lot of it. This bits and pieces of rolling stock, they just want to get rid of. They don't want to deal with it. It's not top of the line. It's not something they normally have for sale. It's stuff they normally don't even bother with. They'll try to sell those cars off at 50 cents a piece, and they can't do it. Me, I get it into my display, and I'm selling those cars left and right some days. Some days they don't move. Some days they don't move worth a flip. But I'll get them out there, and they'll move. So you see, I don't charge all that much either. Now, if somebody came along and said they wanted to buy all my cars, I'd probably go ahead and take it. Offer me a couple $100 for all of the rolling stock I've got on hand now. I'm going to pack it in bags, because they ain't getting my carriers. They're not getting my boxes. But I will sell it to them. All of it. They offer me another $80 to $100, then I might sell my carriers. But in the meantime, I just thought that, you know, knowing a few tricks of the trade here, first of all, don't, you know, as Chris at Chris's Trains and Things says, don't use credit cards to buy your trains. It's never a good idea. Let me explain something to you. I learned that the hard way back in the 1980s. Okay? I learned the hard way back then. Don't buy your model trains with a credit card. Okay? That's just one of those don'ts. Don't be so flippant about using a debit card as well. Now, I realize the debit card comes out of your bank right away. Don't do it. You know, it's easier to use a card. I understand that. You know, you feel like you've actually got something with that card in your pocket. Don't pull them out for model trains. This is a hobby you love. This is not going to be, you know, you don't want to go out there and look at your trains and say, damn, I wish I hadn't have bought that. You know, that's, you know, your best bet is to pay cash for your trains. Again, save your dollars here and there a week. You know, put back, or $40 every 2 weeks between shows. Oh, and by the way, as you sell stuff at a show, if you're a vendor, some of that cash that you're selling for, because I guarantee you, none of those vendors have credit card machines. Now, we have one friend who he does have that thing you put on your phone and you slide a card through it. So he can do that. But No, we don't typically we want cash. We want cash because when we make our money, we can go buy from other vendors to make more money, to spend our money. And we just have a good time at it. That's how I get most of my rolling stock. That's how I've gotten all my engines. I see one table where a buddy has an engine that he used that he's probably paid nothing for, or next to nothing for. He wants 40, 50, 60 bucks for it, and this is one of his few pristine engines. Oh well. I've coughed it up a time or two. It wasn't easy to save that, and it can go so quickly. And I understand that. Don't get so adamant about doing your hobby that you neglect your family and your kids. If you can't neglect them either. All of my track on my layout is used track, with the exception of a very little bit that I actually bought from Dana. I got, I got about eight pieces of 072 track from Dana total, and that was over a period of time because they charge like $8.98 for that, for each piece of curved 072 track. So now I guarantee you every bit of track on the main line, with the exception of the guardrails, the track that's running through the bridge, every bit of that Lionel fast track came from Dana's guy that had bought up a bunch of it, and then, well, he died. My friend John got most of it, and I bought a lot of it at $5 for a 30-foot section of track. So I probably might have about $140, $150, $60 worth of track here. Now, recently I picked up some used turnout, or 2 used switches, 060 switches from Dana. Now, a lot of shops you go into, a lot of them these days, they carry used stuff too. And you can get a discount on it. And it's not a big discount usually, especially if it's in pristine condition. But it is a discount nonetheless. So that's something to look at. But your best bet at getting a discount and getting, find a train show in your area. Now, major train shows like this thing they just had in Milwaukee, where you had William K. Walthers and all of the major manufacturers there. Oh, great. No, get a break not so from great. Those guys. First of all, their table space or their booth space is very expensive in a show like that. And they're manufacturers. They're not going to sell anything to you for less than retail. Full retail. So keep that in mind as well. They're also not going to sell you, generally a lot of your manufacturer booths, they don't sell anything at the shows anyway, not to the public. They're there to take orders from other vendors like hobby shops and train stores and things of that nature. That's what they're there for. So, and even if when you find the used stuff, they're going to have a little bit higher prices on it. So, and those guys, they've got to be able to pay their expenses if nothing else. I mean, I've had days too where all we basically made was the price of the tables. And maybe covered a little bit of gasoline. So, you don't know if a vendor's having a bad day or not. But, like I said, you walk into a hobby show or a train show that's doing very brisk business, it's crowded, it's great. Because you can walk in there and you can look at something And sometimes they'll turn you down, but sometimes you'll get the piece you're wanting for a lot less than what you would get if you went and ordered it from the hobby shop, or even if it's not even available anymore. And you'll get it for a lot less than you'll get it on eBay. That's for sure. So a little bit about I just wanted today. That's that's how you budget, and that would be what's called budgeting, model railroader. What I want you to take away from what I'm saying today is, one, don't use credit cards. Always use cash. Always use cash. Don't use your debit card either, because you could end up, you know, overextension on your bank account and things like you could. Yeah, because I know how dangerous trains can be. Always look for the guy who you see that he's selling stuff off, and you know you can maybe make him a decent offer, a fair offer, and maybe get a fairly decent discount. Don't try to lowball somebody so low that you know they're not going to take that. They don't even take that as a joke. You know, so, and you certainly don't want them looking at you as a joke. You go in there and you offer them, you know, a fair price, maybe less than actual market value on it, but a fair price, and they'll either take it or they'll turn you down. If they turn you down, don't be mad at the guy. If it's something you really want and you do have the money to pay it, and it's really not that unfairly priced, go ahead and buy it at what he's asking for it. But always look for the guy that, and especially toward the end of the day. At the end of the day, he knows he's going to have to pay. You know, as a shopper, as a part of the general public going in there, you know toward the end of the show, the end of the day, these people have all got to pack their stuff up, load it into their vehicles, and take it back home. What I look for is the guy that you can just, and you can generally pretty well guess that he's not going to have to pack it all up and take it all home if he can sell it. He doesn't want to pack it back up and take it home. And that's the guy you need to look for to get the best deals on something that maybe you want that he happens to have. And he'll probably be more than happy to let it go. And like I said, the closer to the end of the day, the closer to the end of the show, the better. In the meantime, this will be it for the Withlacoochee River Report this week. We do have a train show a week from tomorrow, which will be the 7th. It'll be in Crystal River, Florida, not at the Hernando County Fairgrounds. If I said earlier it would be Hernando County, it won't be. No, this will be in Crystal River, up at the National Guard Armory over on Venable Street. Oh, I don't know why I had told you it was at the Hernando County Fairgrounds. That doesn't happen until January. But December 7th, 2024, we're having a show up there in Crystal River, Florida. So, by all means, if you're in that area at that time, it's only about $6 to get in per person, and $5 if you've got the email, if you get an email from Regal Shows. So, until next time, happy railroading.